In Ford versus Revlon, we'll see whether a company could be found liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress, even if its employee was found not guilty of the same tort. Leta Fay Ford worked in the purchasing department at Revlon. One day in April of 1980, Ford's boss, Karl Braun, invited Ford out to dinner. At dinner, Braun told Ford that he planned to spend the night with her. When Ford attempted to leave the dinner, Braun told Ford that she would regret rejecting his advances. 1 month later at a company party, Braun got directly in Ford's face and told her that he wanted to have sex with her. Braun later approached Ford and grabbed her in a chokehold. Braun ran his hands over Ford's body and repeatedly told Ford that he was going to have sex with her. After the company party, Ford initiated meetings with Revlon's personnel managers. When Ford retold her story, she was visibly emotional and her hands were shaking. Revlon had company policies and guidelines for investigating sexual harassment claims. But by December of 1980, Revlon hadn't taken any action based on Ford's complaints, and Braun was still harassing Ford. During this time, Ford developed high blood pressure and other physical symptoms of emotional stress. In February of 1981, Ford requested a transfer out of the purchasing department. In May, Revlon issued Braun a letter of censure. In October, Ford attempted suicide. Shortly after Ford's suicide attempt, Revlon fired Braun. In April of 1982, Ford sued Braun and Revlon for assault and battery, as well as intentional infliction of emotional distress. The trial court jury found Braun liable for assault and battery, but not liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress. In contrast, the jury found that Revlon wasn't liable for assault and battery, but was liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Revlon appealed. The Court of Appeals reversed the trial court's holding and held that, as a principle, Revlon couldn't be found guilty of intentional infliction of emotional distress because Braun, Revlon's agent, was found not guilty of intentional infliction of emotional distress. The Arizona Supreme Court granted review of the case.